Okay, we are back. We are the Red Spotters, Chris and Shane here again. Today we want to talk a little bit about the need to be authentic in your writing. When you're writing, when you're creating anything written, it's very easy to put on airs or to write in a way that isn't natural for you. And you can sometimes get away with it for a little while, but especially in the personal training field, in the fitness industry, like the real you will come out. Like you can tell when somebody's being fake eventually. And then it's all downhill. It backfires.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
I'll let you in a secret. I have no idea what Riz means. They've got Riz, they dress with Riz. I don't know. It's slang, it's modern slang. I know that. No idea what it means or how to use it, so I do not try to use it. No cap, bet. Cringe, like all this stuff. It sounds forced, and it feels forced. So when you're writing, don't try to be hip, which used to be a thing. Just write authentically. Write the way you speak. It's what we always say. That's gonna come out sounding the most natural. Shane, what are your thoughts on being true to yourself?
Oh God, so many. But let's just start with this one. So, as our listeners may not know, I'm a Christian. I've been a born again Christian for, oh God, probably about, but that was appropriate. Probably about probably about 10 years now. And I remember my pastor during the sermon said that in the age of social media and everything being online, you should strive to be the same person online than you are in person. So when someone who's met you online meet you in person, they go, "You're exactly the type of person I thought you were." Right? And I think how that ties into your writing is pretty obvious. Be exactly who you are. Right? So uh, using me as the best example, I don't take life too seriously. You read my stuff, you get that picture, because that's just me. Um, you, one of the greatest writers in our industry, Lee Boyce. Lee Boyce is a serious dude. Don't think he ever laughs ever. Right? His writing is serious. He is as serious as in person as he is in his writing, because that's just him. Right? That's just him. So it kind of also, I mean, it ties into defining your voice. But let's face it, we all know our stuff. We can't, if you want to get into the game of out knowledging each other, go for your life. Right? I'm smarter than you. It's the game that we're always going to lose. But the game that you will not lose is being you. And that's really that you really have to grab hold of that in your writing.
Right. I think that's a huge point. It's funny you talk about online versus real life. I spent a good number of years as the forum director at T Nation. They still have a discussion forum, and it was absurd the amount of people who, like on forums, you're generally anonymous, but it's crazy because a running joke was you would not say that if we were sitting face to face. Like if you treat a forum as if you're just sitting around a restaurant table, it will change the way you talk to people. Like people are very brave behind a keyboard, and people are fake behind a keyboard. They put on characters, and that ties into your writing. Like if you are an academic and you're a deep into exercise science research, you don't have to write and try to cram jokes in. Like not every article needs a sense of humor. If it's not natural, it's not natural. That's okay. Your information, your high quality information, will still come through. If you, again, if you speak a certain way, like Jamie Lewis at Chaos and Pain, his blog, he has a very particular voice. He's very intense. He's very over the top. He's a lot to handle, but he gets his information across. Like without a doubt, that's how he behaves in person. And it's the same guy in on the screen or in person. Jim Wendler, I think, is the same. A lot of his writing is intense, but from everything I met him once years and years ago at a seminar, and it's him. It's the same personality.
Yeah.
So it always comes back to write naturally, because that's how you communicate. If you try to fake it, it'll be forced. It'll be difficult to read. Readers will get like an itch, like something's not right here. It's not clicking, because you're not being true to yourself. You're not being comfortable. So, the more you practice, the more comfortable and self-confident you'll be as a writer or as a trainer. The more clients you train, the more confident you are training them. The more often you write, the more comfortable and confident you'll be writing. So it's back to practice. It's about owning yourself, accepting yourself, which sounds a little silly, but it's true.
Dr. Phil is in the house. Let's go.
Yeah, between the two of us, we can do a good Dr. Phil impression. It's you want readers who are, readers are potential clients, ultimately. So if a reader reads something you wrote and eventually hires you and realizes you're a different person, not writing, like training them is different, that's not who they hired. So it'll be one and done. That's it.
Yeah. Just gonna get sidetracked here a little. So my wife was looking at realtor websites, and they spelt a words wrong in their site, in their blurb, and she just automatically just said, no, not hiring this person. That's how important that is, right? Not saying that good grammar is important, but that's how important being yourself is, right? Because sometimes the first impression that people get is from your written word, and if it's not authentic, then you're done. It's just that easy. We live in a land of choice, right? With everybody trying to stand out. So why try and be like everybody else? Right? I mean, I'm not going to go with Dr. Phil, but yeah, just be yourself. Now, that being said, with what you were talking about and what I'm talking about, it is a process. Like you said, you have to keep working at it. You have to keep writing. It took me a good 5-6 years to find it, and to be comfortable, to be my authentic self in my writing. Now I can do that in my blog because that's a more personal thing. It's a little different when you're paid to get writing, because editors will look at it and go, "You're an idiot." It's out, but they still get the general vibe of you, right? Because like I said, you can't out-knowledge everybody, right? Particularly in your writing, it just gets boring, right? We've got to strike that balance between information and entertainment, and not going too far one way or the other. Now, if you can strike a balance in between those two things, and also being your authentic self, you've got it made.
Right, and that's where the great fitness writers shine through, is because they've learned how to balance information and the content with their own personality, their own uniqueness, their own unique spin and perspective, and present that in a way that people want to read. There's a handful of great fitness writers, and they've all been at it for years and years. Again, like you were saying, also, it depends on the outlet that you're writing for. Like on your own individual social media and your personal professional blog, you can be you 100%, and you should be you 100%. If you're writing for a publication, an online website, like we've said before, like each website will have its own brand, its own professional brand, its own voice. So you have to mesh into that. Like not every coach probably should be writing for a site like, let's say, Flex Magazine, because the audience at Flex Magazine and the tone of voice that Flex Magazine used when they were around isn't appropriate for every coach and every trainer. Like if you have an athletic trainer who works with ultra marathon runners, like that kind of coach with that background and knowledge would have to bend and contort so much to fit the Flex Magazine prototype. It's not going to be them. So you can play around with finding your own feet with your own social media, your own blog, which is why we keep saying start a blog. Everyone start a blog.
Blog. Start a blog.
We get a t-shirt. Get that t-shirt. Because that's where you can find your voice and your personality. It's where you can get most comfortable with yourself. And then you can tweak it as needed for individual publications. So, it's just like training clients. Like you get comfortable training, and then you branch out to different types of clientele with different goals. But you have to get used to standing in the gym and teaching somebody how to squat and how to deadlift and all that stuff. And then over time, as you practice more, you can branch out and put your spin on the same information with other people.
You're the baby. Let's go. I don't know if I can add to that. What I was thinking is, because we all, when we talk about finding your voice, it's a process and it's hard to do. And it's the same. It's like we don't spend a lot of time inwardly thinking about ourselves and how we are like, and what is our authentic self. And I was just thinking in terms of, particularly if you're a coach on the floor and you're training clients, ask them what you like and be open to what they tell you. Hopefully they tell you nice things.
If not, take it on. You earned it.
Yeah. But I think your personality attracts a certain client. So if you're struggling to say, well, how am I going to do my authentic self in my writing? Ask your clients how you train, right? And hopefully they say nice things about you. Again, it's just using your clients as a resource, right? And they are a valuable resource, and I've said it before and I say it again. Being a better writer means you're a better trainer, and being a better trainer makes you a better writer. The two go like hand in hand.
It is. It's because, and again, that also ties back to something else we've written. If you want to be a fitness writer, who's writing training content and giving advice on training, you really should be a trainer. Like you should ideally be working with clients. You should have that experience.
Novel thought, right?
Right. Otherwise, you think. Otherwise, you're not being authentic. You're giving information with no context, other than maybe if you worked out on your own, which is a lot of that around.
Yeah.
So if you want to be a fitness writer, creating or offering training advice, you're writing about your training. You don't want to just be writing about whatever. So it should be both sides of the coin. The writing should support your training, and the training will inform your writing. It's
true. It's true. I probably was a trainer for a good 10 years before I got paid to write a word. Right? It's just, you just got to really have that. You just really got to have that experience under the belt. But that again, that's branching off. That's right. Branching off into a different subject. But I think really finding your voice and finding who you are and your authentic self and expressing it in your writing is just what's going to separate you from everybody else. Because You don't want to be like everybody else, right? Everybody else is busy being everybody else, right? Don't try and copy somebody, right? We see those people online who copy other people, right? We know, and we're talking about some big names who copy other people, right? So just because they do it doesn't mean you should, right? It's like it's finding your authentic self is also just about not really compromising who you are as a coach and as a writer.
Right. And that ties into knowing who you are. You need to, like you said, you need to sit and think about your individual strengths and your weaknesses, and always try to play to your strengths and minimize your weaknesses. You know, if nutrition is not your strong suit, I think we just talked about this in our last discussion. Don't try to write a nutrition article just because you want to try writing a nutrition article. It'll be lean into your strengths, write about the stuff that you know inside and out, that you bring a perspective on that nobody else does. That's how you rise to the top. That's how you get great information out there. That's how you create a great article, is writing something that nobody else could write. Like, we said this before, but there's a lot of repetitiveness here. You know, every trainer can write an article on how to deadlift. It's a fundamental movement, but every trainer can have a different spin on it. You'll have different cues you'll use. You'll have different tweaks and different adjustments and modifications that maybe somebody else didn't think about. And you learned that over the years working with clients. That, hey, if I tell them to grip it like this, if I tell them to set their feet like they're jumping, if I tell them whatever, it's a trick and tip that you discovered that nobody else can share. So even the topics might not be unique, but your perspective should always be.
That's perfect. That's true. Right? That's very, very true. And again, that just ties into being you and not everybody else. Just because everybody else writes like that doesn't mean you should.
Exactly. That's what it comes down to. Because there's only one you, darn it.
Yeah. And I'm going to veer off a little bit here, but that kind of comes into with, staying in your lane. I'm a big believer in I think staying in your lane ties in with your authentic self, because like you said, if you don't know nutrition, then don't write about it, right? Stay in your lane, because I think I have read writers who stray from their lane, and personal trainers are great for it because they think they're lifestyle coaches, and that's a different subject. But when you stray from your lane and stray from what you know in your writing, you're not being true to your authentic self. Right? People's bullshit detectors are stronger than ever, dude. And particularly in the age of Google, right? You can't lie about shit. Then you really should. That's a perfect reason to stay within your lane and be your authentic self, because people will pick it up in a heartbeat. I do all the time, particularly online, and I pick it up with people who are extremely well known as well. I just go, I don't think so. I don't think so. So that's why it's so important as a writer and also as a coach to be your authentic self, right? If you like dancing, write about dancing, right?
Good. Okay.
So I remember when Tony Gennacore used to write for T Nation and Brian Cran was his editor. Tony used to speak about how Brian Cran would get a piece of work and he would just eye roll at everything Tony wrote, because he was just, just being Tony, right? But that's Tony. That's his authentic self when he talks like poking your eyeballs out and smashing your head into a brick wall and all that kind of stuff. Do that. Automatically you'll stand out in a crowded field. You really will, and you'll find, not only that, you'll find your tribe. You'll find your readership.
Well, that's a huge point. Yes, that being who you are will put you out there, and people will find you. They will gravitate towards you. If they like you, word will spread. You touched on another issue when you are dangerously not inauthentic. A problem you could run into if you try faking it is getting something wrong. Like the worst thing you could do as a fitness writer is make a mistake, like give bad advice, like verifiably bad advice. If you're saying that, the bench press targets your lats, and you go on a whole spiel about how the bench press zones in and works your lats like crazy, and you don't know any better because you're a nutritionist who decided to write a training article, like you're giving bad advice. And lots of people who have a modicum of knowledge base will say, what? No, this person's wrong. And next time I see something by them, I'm going to ignore it because they're ignorant. They don't know what they're talking about. So by being inauthentic, by trying to fake it, you run the very serious risk of making a mistake and getting a permanent mark against you and ruining your reputation. Like you said, a first impression. If your first impression sucks, that's it. It's very hard to overcome that. You might not ever.
That is a fantastic point. That is a great point. I can't really add to that. But yeah.
Thank you. Good night.
You really do run that risk.
I mean,
you know what? Personally, I've been called out for that before. I've learned that the hard way.
It happens. It happens. Yeah. If it happens inadvertently, that's one thing. If you're veering out of your lane, like you said, if you're trying something new and you fall on your face, maybe you kind of deserved it. Like maybe you should have stayed in your lane, like you're saying. Yeah. And again, it's knowing your own strengths and weaknesses and always playing to them and keeping them front of mind. Like whatever your ideal, your top topics are, your major strong suits, do as best you can to write about that stuff. And be aware of what you're not great on. If you don't know kettlebells, don't try and teach a kettlebell swing. If you've never picked up a club bell, don't try and teach a 360. If, in the fitness world especially, there's so many topics. If you don't know plyometrics, you don't know a box jump from a depth jump, don't mix those up. It's all this little stuff that adds up. So know your strengths, know your weaknesses, and keep them focused. Stay focused on them. Avoid what you need to avoid, and target what you need to target.
Yeah, that's great advice.
Cool. Anything else? Anything else?
Hopefully we covered it all. If anybody out there is struggling to write authentically, that's why we're here, and we can give advice outside of this video and how writers can lean into their personality a little bit more.
Definitely, guys. Any questions? Email us. We'll get back to you. It's thewritespotters@gmail.com. It's at thewritespotters on Instagram, Facebook, on socials.
Scar.
Send us some messages. We will get back to you. Any questions, let us know. And we'll work on it. We'll figure it out as a team.
I'm just as funny online as I am in person too, by the way. Just saying.
I'm not. I'm way funnier in person. I don't talk to you online. On that note, I think we will catch you guys next time. All right. Email us, send us questions. We're here to help, and we will catch you guys later.
See you guys.